What's up, everybody? Dharius Daniels here, and I've been doing some thinking as we all wrestle with, and I pray you're safe as it relates to this physical coronavirus. I think it's also important to take this time we have quarantined to think about addressing an emotional virus that many people wrestle with. It's an emotional virus called unforgiveness. Now, there's a lot of talk in culture about whether or not a person should practice forgiveness. What are the requirements for forgiveness? And I believe this about forgiveness and anything else. You can't get it right if you see it wrong. And a lot of times, a person's resistance to a thing is based on the way they've understood it. So the question isn't whether or not we should or shouldn't forgive. The question is, what is forgiveness? And then when we get an accurate understanding of that, I think the second part of the question becomes a little easier. I believe forgiveness is the gift that you give yourself. It is a gift that you give yourself. It is a refusal to be imprisoned by the toxic emotions that can stay in our heart based on a past offense. It's a decision not to allow what happened in my past to sabotage me in my future. And so I feel like as we work through this whole subject, it was important for me to just kind of roll out 3 things that forgiveness is not. Because again, I don't think you can get forgiveness right if you see it wrong. So first of all, I believe this, number 1, forgiveness is not a sign of weakness. Forgiveness is a sign of strength. I'm going to say it again. Forgiveness is not a sign of weakness. Forgiveness is a sign of strength. And the reason I say that is forgiveness is not a feeling. One author put it this way: forgiveness is not a manifestation of feelings, it's an act of the will. You don't forgive because you feel like it. You don't forgive because you like them. You forgive because you like you. And you refuse to allow yourself to be tied to, for the rest of your life, an act that someone else did intentionally or unintentionally, but either way, it's a result of their imperfection. So forgiveness is not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength. It's a choice, not a feeling. It's a choice you make because you like you, not a choice you make because you like them. Number 2, forgiveness is not an excuse. We're not excusing a person's behavior, but we're making a decision that we will not be tied emotionally to that behavior, that we will not live the rest of our life triggered by that behavior, that we refuse to go in a room and have our whole mood altered because that person's in the room. It's a decision that we make not to excuse somebody's behavior, but to make a decision I will no longer be emotionally controlled or affected by it. All right, so that's 2. And last but not least, number 3, forgiveness is not trust. Forgiveness is a grace gift that you give to yourself. Trust is earned by those who are trustworthy. Just because you've forgiven them for an act they did in the past doesn't mean you have to trust them going forward in the future. Forgiveness is a grace gift that you give yourself. So I'm encouraging you to please forgive so that you aren't suffering from this emotional epidemic called unforgiveness. Because as one person amazingly stated, to walk in unforgiveness is the equivalent of drinking poison and expecting somebody else to die. Let's be free, family. I love you. Take care.